You know that feeling when you're looking at an exam question and you think, okay, this is worth 4 marks, but where do they all come from? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on that. We're going to take a real GCSE probability question and break it down piece by piece to build that perfect, full-mark answer. Let's dive in.
All right, so here's our challenge. Question 6. We've got a couple of bias coins and a probability tree diagram that needs finishing. Our mission? To figure out exactly how an examiner awards those 4 marks. By the end of this, you'll know exactly what to write down to get every single point.
So this is a classic two-parter. First, in part A, we've got to fill in the gaps on the tree diagram. Then, in part B, we have to do a calculation. We're going to tackle both, and for each step, we'll look at what the official mark scheme is actually looking for. Right, let's go and grab our first 2 marks. Part A is all about completing this probability tree diagram. It might look simple, but getting these numbers right is the foundation for getting everything else right too.
So let's focus on that first throw with coin A. The diagram's already told us the probability of landing on heads is 0.6. So the question is, what's the probability of it not being heads?
And here's the key thing you always have to remember with probability. The chances for all the possible outcomes have to add up to 1. It's a certainty that something will happen. So to find not heads, we just do 1 minus the probability of heads. That's 1 minus 0.6, which of course gives us 0.4.
And boom. Just by writing 0.4 on that branch, we've already earned our first mark. In the mark scheme, this is called a B1 mark. Think of it as an accuracy mark. You don't need to show any method, just have the right number in the right place. Easy, right? 1 down, 3 to go. Okay, next up are the branches for coin B. There are 4 empty spots here. We're told the probability of heads is 0.255. So, how do we fill in the rest?
Well, it's exactly the same logic we just used. The probability of not heads for coin B is going to be 1 minus 0.55, which is 0.45. And here's the other important bit. What happens with coin A has no effect on coin B. They're independent. That means the probabilities for coin B are the same on both sets of branches. So we fill in 0.55 and 0.45 on the top and do the exact same thing on the bottom.
And just like that, you've got your second mark. The examiner gives out another B1 for getting all 4 of those coin B numbers correct. So just by filling out the diagram properly, we're already halfway to full marks. See how this works?
All right, let's pivot to part B and see how we can use this completed diagram to our advantage. Now we have to actually calculate something. The question wants the probability that both coins land on heads. This is where we earn our last 2 marks. To solve this, you need to know one of the golden rules of probability. Whenever you see the word "and," like you want the probability of this event happening and then this other event happening, you follow the paths on your tree diagram and you multiply the probabilities. So, let's trace the path. We want coin A to land on heads. That's a probability of 0.6. And we want coin B to land on heads. That's a probability of 0.55. So, following our rule, the calculation is simply 0.6 multiplied by 0.55.
Now listen up, because this is probably the most important tip I can give you. The mark scheme awards an M1 mark, that's a method mark, just for writing down that calculation. You get this mark even if you mess up the multiplication. This is why showing your work is so critical. It's a safety net that literally earns you points.
Okay, so let's do the math. 0.6 times 0.55, that gives us our final answer, 0.33.
And there it is, our 4th and final mark. The mark scheme calls this an A1, or an accuracy mark. You get this one for having the correct final answer, but you can only get it if you've also shown the correct method.
You might have noticed those little letters OE in the mark scheme there. This is a great piece of inside info. It stands for or equivalent, and it basically means the examiner has to accept the answer in different but correct forms. So, whether you wrote down the decimal, 0.33, the fraction 33 over 100, or even 33%, you'd get the mark. Pretty useful to know, right?
So let's just take a breath and put it all together. Let's do a quick recap of exactly how we secured every single one of those 4 points.
Look at this breakdown. It's so clear. Our first B1 mark came from finding that 0.4 for coin A. Our second B1 mark was for correctly filling in all the probabilities for coin B. Then came that absolutely crucial M1 method mark, just for writing down 0.6 times 0.55. And finally, the A1 accuracy mark for getting the answer 0.33. It really is a blueprint for how to answer the question perfectly.
And that's it. That's how you deconstruct a question to make sure you get full marks. The big lesson here isn't just about the answer. It's that marks are rewarded for your thinking, for your method, for every correct step you take along the way. So next time you're staring down a multi-mark question, don't just rush to the answer. Ask yourself, where are all the marks hiding in my working out?